option to, of course, play that recording as well too. And getting right into the actual tour tonight, one thing that I have to say is that, from me and Reza's experience in the last many years of doing business, we've learned pretty much everything that your prospect will ever want to say to you in terms of asking questions or giving objections. And really, once you learn to handle these objections or how to basically sort of respond to the objections, the business becomes very, very simple. And so getting right started into our very first slide there. Maria, do you mind clicking on the slide for us there, please? And the very first point here, when it comes to about the truth about handling objections, because a lot of people kind of think or must have a bit of a misunderstanding when it comes to handling objections. And objections, and write this down, okay? Objections are just blank questions. They are just simply unanswered questions. And if you can understand this concept that objections that come to you are simply just unanswered questions, and that they're actually a very good thing, then you're going to have a great time in being able to turn your prospect around and having them join you in whatever you're doing. And of course, I know Reza, of course, has had some experience now in handling objections that, he's had, I've actually seen him in action so many times where he's been able to turn an objection and flip it around and simply answer those questions to the point that the person now joins. I've seen it over and over and over again. And also, when it comes to objections, people usually ask questions or have objections mainly because it's just fear-based. And usually fear is directly related to a lack of knowledge. So, don't ever think that having questions or objections is a bad thing. In fact, they're actually a very, very good thing. And write this down, okay? Objections are good things. It means that your prospect has interest in knowing more about, the business that you're doing. And most of the time, people have these questions because they just don't know the answers, or they have a misinformation or misunderstanding of how to make money in the business. And our job is to simply have that, to clarify that piece of information. And of course, they're going to join afterwards. And one key thing when you go along here is, be pleasantly persistent to get past the no. A lot of times, you might seem that you're feeling that your prospect is saying no to you. And really, all you have to do to turn that into a yes is be very, very persistent, but pleasantly persistent on getting past the no's and continuing to answer their questions to make them more understanding of what it is that they're not sure about. And of course, the last point here before I turn it back to Reza is, do not create unnecessary objections. So a lot of times, I've seen some people who are handling one objection from a certain prospect, and funny enough, they start going into a wide range of different things that lead up to more and more questions from the prospect. So when you get asked one question or you have one objection, make sure you just handle that one objection and you don't try to create more questions that make your life a bit harder. So the little sort of acronyms TL and LM simply means, and write this down, okay, is to talk less and listen more, okay? The same thing about building like and trust, right? You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. It's simply all about talking less and listening more to really understand what is it that's on your prospect's mind. And Reza, you have so much experience in this field as well too. Would you like to add anything to these first few slides here?
Well, you know what, Rene, it's not often that I do sit down with a guest and they have per se a legitimate objection. Usually, what people do is every one of them, when I ask them, so what do you think? They say, well, it looks good, it sounds good, I love the products, everything's great, everything is this. They love what they see. That's really nice watch you're wearing. So they're already telling you, they already like what they understand. Now, when you sit down with them and ask questions, like you said, listen more. You want to listen to what it is that they're trying to tell you. And usually the survey is the way to go. This survey, which basically is very, very important, not just to hand it to a prospect and walk away, but to sit down with them, have a conversation with them, and like you said, answer one question at a time. Do not create more. Focus on what it is that they're trying to say. And sometimes it takes a bit of digging. It takes a bit of asking. It takes a bit of trying to read in between the lines what it is that the guest is trying to tell you. And by you listening properly and focusing on what they're trying to say is basically the best way to handle that. So yes, talk a little less, listen a little bit more, and focus on the question that they have.
Perfect. And so many times, sometimes even what you're saying there, Reza, what some people tell you or what they're saying isn't really what they're thinking deep down inside their heart. So, you definitely have to dig and dig, as Reza said, more to find out what's the really core reason why they're not doing the business or they had that objection. So, Maria,
Absolutely.
on to the next slide, please. So when it comes to, getting past a no and how to be persistent getting through there, some things for you to understand in terms of, general sales and consumers is that 60% of consumers actually say no 4 times before making a purchase. And, I've done it before, and so have all of you guys on the call tonight. How many times have you went to go buy something, but in your mind, at first you actually said no off the bat. I mean, everything that you've bought in life, at one point in time, you've actually said no. And in most cases, 60% of consumers say no before making that purchase. So, whether it be, buying a new sink or buying a new shower head or buying a new phone or a new laptop, in your mind, you said no about 4 times before making that purchase. And so what that means is you only failed in the closing because you gave up too soon. In other words, once you got that first no, or perhaps your second no, even the third one, you just stopped being persistent and you didn't keep trying to dig for more information, and that's how you basically fail. So again, it's all about showing gentle persistence. And remember, consumers want to buy, they just don't want to be sold. Okay, that's the key thing is that people actually like what they see. I've never seen someone come to GWT and not even like what they see. They actually love what they see, and they want to get in, but they just don't want to be sold in that sense. So, Reza, anything else you want to add really quickly to the slide here?
Well, well said, because myself, I'll give you an example. I'm going to talk a little bit about the renovations I'm doing at home. And I've seen marketing, I've seen advertising towards different things that, somewhat related to what I'm doing at home. And at the beginning, the first time I see the advertisement, I kind of like, well, no, I can do it better over here, there. And then I see the second time, because it's on my route I'm driving, I see it the third time, the fourth time, guess what? I pull in, I stop and inquire, actually look deeper into it. So yes, 4 times, sometimes it might take more time, sometimes it might take less time, but yes, it is very true. And uh, I guess what Rene, I guess, trying to say, gentle persistence is basically you don't want to be pushy, you don't want to come across as a salesman, someone that wants to basically sell the individual on your idea. You want to make sure that they understand that what you're trying to share with them is something that it's something that is good for them, as well as it's not just something that you want, but it's something that's good for them. So that's where gentle persistent comes in, by asking a lot of questions. Yes, absolutely, Renee.
Exactly, and so many times I've seen sort of other salespeople in action, whether it be a car salesman or for a new bed, and it's funny because I'm hearing some of the clients objections, and the sales guy isn't even focusing on really what the clients are talking about. They're not really taking care of what's their issue or what's their sort of stoppage in their mind. They're focusing on the latest promotions and this amazing promotion, and they're not handling the core objection in that person's mindset. So again, be persistent. Again, infinite follow-up. So, we have what we call, on the next slide here, actually, if you don't mind going to the next slide there, Maria, thank you so much. We call it the 3Ds of objection handling, okay? And the 3Ds is something that you want to be able to have every single time that you're doing a closing, okay, or handling an objection. The first one is determination, okay? That's one thing that you want to handle the objection head on. You want to deal with it head on. You don't want to try to avoid the objection, because once you try to avoid an objection and you're not determined in handling that prospect's questions, then you won't get past that whatsoever. Of course, dialogue is have the right words to say. And later on in this PowerPoint today, we have a lot of great examples of the common things that usually come up when you're talking to clients and prospects. And me and Reza will be sharing with you guys more of our experience in terms of how we handle through dialogue those different kinds of objections. And the last thing is actually the delivery. And I mean, these three things are all key: determination, dialogue, and delivery. And delivery just simply refers to how you deliver that message. And there's this kind of ties into what I call the 3 E's. So write this down, okay? So yeah, make sure you write down the 3 Ds. But also under delivery, make sure you have the 3 E's, which is basically your excitement, your enthusiasm, and your energy. Okay. In other words, your confidence, what you portray out when you handle that question. Because if you're handling that objection and you sound unsure of what you're saying, then of
Hmm.
course you don't have that confidence. It won't come off, and you won't be able to, positively change the mindset of your client. So again, I mean, Rez, I know that you're an expert when it comes to having some excitement, enthusiasm, energy, plus the 3Ds. Please share with us a bit more, a bit more.
Well, people, they join your business. You're the one who invited them out. They saw the presentation. They saw the tour. They saw your products. They saw your composition plan. They saw all of that. These are all the data or stuff that they could actually physically feel and see and touch. They like all of that. But really, at the end of the day, they make their decision based on your strength, based on your confidence, enthusiasm, how much fun you're having with this deal, and also other areas that goes along with it. It's like if I was to go into a project and it had to do with IT, and let's say Rene approached me and says, okay, we can do this, this, and that, and for me not to be sure of, I know IT is where to be at in a lot of areas, but since my knowledge is not good, if I feel that Rene is confident about what he's talking about, he's having fun with what he's doing, he's actually making an earning, making a living at it, or having a lot of fun with it. Most importantly, he's confident about what he's talking. He's strong. He's very strong. That strength is what will attract me to go into partnership with Rene. It's very, very important that people want to go into business, into partnership with someone that they feel that's strong, that's confident, that can actually deliver what they're promising. And it's very important. If you're iffy, loosey-goosey about the message you're delivering, people are going to be saying, well, I don't know, this individual talking the talk, but will they, are they actually going to walk the walk? Are they actually having success? Are they actually going to be there for me? There's a lot of areas. So it's very important that you're confident and you have that enthusiasm, showing them that you're having a lot of fun, making a change in your life and many others as well as theirs. So it's very important to be, strong in all areas.
And so well put, Reza, because I mean, if you look at all the top earners and top leaders in the company, every single one of them is very strong and confident when it comes to closing. That as a prospect, when you talk to these top earners, you know that whatever kind of objection or question you throw out there, you're going to get an answer, and you're going to get a feeling that this company is absolutely the best company to be in because it is. And so again, it takes time sometimes to build up that confidence and knowledge. So the best way to build up that confidence, if you ask Reza this question as well too, it just takes time, right, Reza? It just takes time to learn and listen to what other people say and simply learn from others, right?
Absolutely. Plus, you know what, the support system is in place. That's why we always talk about three-way, 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 whether it's in person, whether it's on the phone. Don't try to fabricate answers. Don't try to make up answers because people can feel that, and that's not a good thing either. So you want to make sure you utilize all that's available to you, and most importantly, supporting this company is beyond anything I've ever seen. So yes, absolutely.
Now, Rez, on the next slide here, I know that the first time I heard you training, this is one of the things that I got from you, of course, also from Ramin. Can you please go over again the mindset or the belief and what you always refer to as a tripod for belief, please?
Yeah, this is something that I learned over the years, and I've always been a competitive kind of individual. I've always, if I decided I want to do something, I try to do it to the best of my ability. But there is more than just one area to your belief system. Belief system is very, very important. Like I remember, we had a tripod in the front, and they had the cameras on it and the microphone on it, and the tripod. There's three legs to this tripod, and every leg is just as important as the other one. If you have a tripod that one of the legs are weaker than the other two, it might stand initially, but once you put some pressure on it, put some extra added weight onto it, guess what's going to happen? One of the legs is going to give, so the whole thing will collapse. So the three areas is the business. You got to make sure if you're new into this industry, if you're not aware of what this industry is all about. I mean, there's countless amount of materials out there, and most of them for free. Today's technology, you can get online and basically do your due diligence and understand what this industry is all about. It's a brilliant industry. It's last bastion of free enterprise. This is where an average, ordinary individual can reach unimaginable heights and success in this industry. I mean, it's not something just started yesterday. It's been around. I don't know for as more than 70 years that I know of that this industry has been around. So you got to make sure you educate yourself about the industry. Make sure you know what this industry has to offer, what it has done for people. That this industry has created more millionaires, than any other industry out there. You got to make sure you understand all that. There's books out there, there's materials out there, there's audio out there, there's free material all over the place, so you can get your hands on and listen to. What I do is basically when I travel, which I do travel a lot, and for those of you that know me, I do drive a lot. I basically have all kinds of audios that I have, and some of them I must have heard hundreds of times. But guess what? I always pop in one of the CDs while I'm driving and listen to, the material that's out there. That's number one. So you got to make sure you understand about the industry. Number two, your company. I know we've been very fortunate, especially in global wealth trade here, that we have so many people without very little or any prior experience in direct sales. So when they come into global wealth trade, they think this is the norm, and which is great. I mean, count your blessing that your first experience happens to be, or first real experience happens to be global wealth trade. This is nothing that's the norm out there per se. You want to make sure you understand where the company is coming from, what it's accomplished in the last 8 years, what have we done, all the accolades that's out there about our company, the growth, the involvement, and the ongoing R&D that's going on with the company. I mean, it's relentless of what's going on with this company in terms of what they're handing out to us on a silver platter. So you want to make sure you do understand this company and its history. And the last one is yourself. You got to make sure you believe in yourself. Okay, this is something that unfortunately there's a lot of people out there that they don't have that self-belief. I've heard this so many times, like, oh, Reza, you're cut out for this. You're made for this. You're good at this. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that I hear people justifying that why they cannot do this, and I'm so made for this, as if I was molded for this. Well, you know what? For people that know me from way back, even now, they know I have to work extremely hard on myself. I do believe whatever I put my mind into, I will go forward with. But at the same time, I got to constantly become better. I got to constantly get better. Whether it's in the area of IT, being able to operate a computer, whether it's in people skills, whether it's in being approachable. People that don't know me in the past, they've always said, once they got to know me, they were saying, well, at first when I saw you, I'm like, some of them said I thought you were in a bad mood. Some of them thought that, I looked intimidating. I don't know. Some of them said that I didn't look friendly. Some of them said that they just, a lot of different things. So you got to work on yourself. And once you have the belief system in yourself, this is the tripod of your belief system. If you have these three things strong, and these become strong as you go on, obviously, you have a win-win situation. Now you see that all the SWs at the bottom there. Basically, this is something that I was taught a very long time ago. My very first exposure to the industry, I was getting discouraged. I was getting disappointed. Some people that I thought that they're going to get into business, they would turn me outright to say no, or some of them would just call it whatever they could call it, and the biggest, worst names they could call it. And you know what? I used to get discouraged. I used to get angry. I used to get upset. I used to kind of slow me down because of what I heard from people. And my upline, I remember at the time, he said one thing to me. He said, you know what, Reza, how many people out there? I said, what do you mean? He goes, globally, how many people out there? I said, I don't know, 6, 7 billion people. He goes, okay, the way you got to look at it is some will do this business, some will do this business, some won't. So what? Next. In global wealth trade, we change it to some will, some won't, someone waiting somewhere. I think that's what it stands for. So yeah, either way you want to look at it, that's the tripod. You got to make sure those three areas are very strong. So Rene, I know you have your own things that you've learned throughout the years, and I know you have some great strengths that you want to share with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think one thing, just to have everyone sort of start to build that belief, even today, when it comes to this industry or this business, this company, and for your prospects, is that in this day and age, as Reza said, a lot of people are now being more open to this idea of network marketing or multi-level marketing. And really, one of the key reasons why that is, according to Sandy Botkins, a former IRS attorney, of course, a guy who is basically understands taxation, inside out, like the back of his forehead. Really, if you look at the amount of people now who are now in direct sales, over 30 million people in North America alone have now partaken in a home-based business. Of course, now worldwide is over 66 million. But the reason why in North America it's absolutely booming in terms of the people who are in direct sales is because, just to have a home-based business and get access to tax benefits, which I did do a training last week, is actually available on webinar now. It is simply just to have the ability to save on taxes. Because really, if you know someone who has a full-time job and no side business, they essentially need to have a side business to help get back those tax savings. And the tax savings can range anywhere from $3,000 up to $9,000. And in some cases, I see people like Reza. It's kind of scary how many bills and receipts he gets to his accountant, but even way more than $9,000 in tax savings. So, as someone who's, I assume everyone on this call today is a nice person. If you have friends out there who have full-time jobs and no home-based business, you're not doing them a justice by showing them this incredible opportunity to the very least save on taxes. So that, from the industry point of view, is a key reason why people need, and saying the word need with capital NEED, need a home-based business. Okay, so especially in the States or in Canada where we have tax benefits, get out there and of course show people. And the SW again, some will join, some won't. So what? Someone's always waiting. Get out there and just keep doing tours after tours after tours, and help people around you by this amazing business here. So on to the next slide here, Maria, please. Talks about 6 kind of steps to dialogue success. And sometimes you might actually skip some of these steps, but overall there's 6 pretty cool steps that you can sort of adapt to having a very successful dialogue. Okay, and the very first one that I learned when I first got into this industry, because before, when someone would tell me an objection, for example, like I don't have time, I would kind of get offensive sometimes, and I get frustrated, like, how can you not see this? It's amazing business. You don't have time, are you insane? That's what I thought. And one thing that I learned on how to deal with objections is step number 1 is to very quickly, agree with it. Okay. So in other words, to put yourself on the same side of the prospect. And this is where I learned the 3 Fs. So today you've learned the 3 Ds, you've learned the 3 Es. Now write down this. It's your 3 Fs. Okay. And really, in this first step, the first F stands for feel. In other words, you want to use the word feel when you're talking about agreeing with their current objection. So if someone says, well, Rene, I'm really busy at work, I'm not sure if I have time for this business, you could say, well, I understand why you feel that way. Or I know how you feel. Okay. The second F stands for felt. So feel, felt. And the third F, of course, stands for found out. So one thing that I learned that was really effective for me first starting off in this industry was to say the 3 Fs. So, I can understand how you feel, or, I know how you feel because I felt that way before, back at my job at Talents, I was working long hours, working till about, 7, 8 p.m., going home, I was exhausted. And, but what I found out was, and now I have the chance to explain, and to turn the table around again and to put back, why they need this business. So I might say what I found out was that, if I wanted more time, I had to change what I was doing because what I was doing before wasn't getting me more time. Okay, so feel, felt, and found. And, really, the whole idea of the feel is probably the most key one, because what you're doing there is sometimes your prospect doesn't feel that you know how they feel. They feel that, you and their lifestyles are completely different, that you're on a higher level or different level than they are. And the second that you tell them, I know how you feel, instantly you and them are now at the same eye level. He now thinks that, or she now thinks that, wow, Rene or this person here actually has gone through what I've gone through. They know how I feel. Now I want to know what they found out. What did they change, or why are they still doing this business now? And of course, Rez, I know that you're the master when it comes to this as well too. Any quick few words here?
Well, you know what? Well said. You want to be in the same vehicle as them. You don't want to be. You want them to see what you agree with them that you saw also. And all of a sudden, they're interested in hearing you, because they're saying, "Well, you know what I feel. I thought you were so much harder than me, or or whatever objection they had in their head, thinking that you're special, that's why you're doing this business, is not for me. Now they feel like they see that going back when you got started, you felt the same way as they did. So right now that puts you in the same vehicle. It's very, very important that you guys, per se, share that you do that, use that word, that you do feel how they, how they feel. Because, for example, when you get objection, someone's saying that I just don't have the time to do anything else. That's when you say, I know exactly how you feel. If they say, I've never done any sales before, you're gonna say, I know exactly how you feel. If they say, I don't know, like I've never done anything like this, you're gonna say, I know exactly how you feel. So it's very important that you do get in the same vehicle as them, per se.
Okay, and moving along to, I guess, the next slide here, which is step two. Again, thank you very much for that addition there, Reza. Step two now, of course, is where it's really the meat and potatoes, because after you've now told them, of course, how you that you felt that way before, if you felt found. A lot of times, if they now understand what you're talking about, you can move on to the closing. Although sometimes, again, you want to dig deeper and ask more questions. So step number two in the dialogues is to question it. So in other words, you want to understand the prospect's reasons for their concern. Okay. So if they might say, I don't have any time, or I don't have any money, or whatever it might be, and you've now gone over the feel, felt, found. Now what you can do is, to proceed with sort of going and digging in deeper, you could say, so just to get a clear picture of what you're talking about, and then leave with an open-ended question. So the whole idea here is to ask more questions. So for example, I might say, well, what is it that's sort of limiting your time? Or why is it that you don't have much time now? Or, or who is it that's sort of, taking all your time? Is it your work? Or what is it, right? And so, there's a bunch of questions of who, what, where, when, why, how. Just simply ask more questions to try to find out what's the real cause behind their concern. And Rez, I know that I've seen you in action where you constantly are so good at asking questions that you can actually find out what's really on the prospect's mind.
Absolutely. I mean, for those of you that are listening, you got to remember, basically, all these techniques are skills that anyone can acquire, and not a talent that if you have. Basically, this is something that you can learn as you put them into practice. And this is where it's very, very important for those who are attending these webinars, that are doing this training, to take a lot of notes, practice these, and become better at it as you go on, and so on and so forth. And again, going back to asking questions from the guests, the prospects, okay, and find out exactly what it is they're saying, where they're coming from, so that way you can focus on their question and concern, and so on. So yes, go on, Rene, you're doing great.
Thank you. And on to the next slide here, Maria. And the third step in dialogues is, in some cases, you might have to isolate exactly what it is that the objection is. So a lot of times, you're getting multiple objections in the same sentence. They're just kind of rambling on, and your goal is to separate multiple objections and deal with them one at a time. A lot of times, my prospect might be saying, well, Rene, I don't have any time. I'm really busy at work. My money's kind of tight right now. And of course, I'm not sure what's up with this business. So I have three objections in one sentence. And before they can carry on with more and more objections, because if you let them carry on with objection after objection after objection, you're letting them get out all of their sort of objections at one sort of time. And now they feel like, the whole conversation is done, and now they can leave. So what you gotta do is you gotta stop them right after you hear the very first objection. Before you move on, I want to make sure I can handle all of your objections or questions you have one at a time before you carry on. So, back to your current point where you're saying that you don't have much time, or, so again, you want to be able to handle one at a time. And so, Rez, I know that a lot of times, you get maybe even in one example more than 3 or 4 objections together, right? I know, how often do you find it important to separate each one at a time?
Well, it's absolutely crucial to your guest decision. Basically, most times, more often than not, it's when you have answered a question, overcome their objections. A lot of time, the guests are either obviously they do not understand some part of your business, And most times, most often than not, it's the money issue. But they're shy to tell you. They're kind of like they're not there. You know, they don't want to share with you that I'm broke or I don't have $3,000 to get started. Because in their view and the point is that in order to get this business started properly, you need to spend 3,000 plus. And this is where you got again asking questions, making sure you understand what they're saying, and letting them know that they can start with as little as a couple $100. You know what I mean? So it's very important to ask these questions, make sure to understand what the objection is, and so on. And like you said, a lot of time when you see people throw multiple objections at you, and these are the objections that are really not viable. You already answered them, you dealt with them. This usually has to do with the money portion. Again, by listening to them, by asking questions, and making sure in a subtle way, showing them doesn't matter where they get started.
All right. And of
You know what
course,
I mean?
yeah,
Go
sorry
ahead.
about that, Reza.
No,
And
no, go ahead.
yeah, I mean, you're pretty much tying into, of course, like we know so well. But on the next slide, which is step four, is handling it. And really, Reza, I mean, you exactly made the right point, which is that you're now showing the person that you have the solution to the concern. Because if you can effectively have an answer or solution to each of their concerns, that person will join. There's no other option because you have now handled every single objection in their mind. There's no other option but to join. So, for example, if you got that objection that you don't have any time, and you were to say, if I can prove to you that you don't have to spend much time to do this business, would you see the opportunity behind this amazing GWT company then, right? So, again, a lot of times you simply want to handle each objection one at a time and tell them that you don't have to have much time or much money. So, for example, if the objection is I don't have much money or I'm tight on funds right now, you might be able to say, well, if I can show you a way of getting started without paying, $2,999 for the diamond package, would that be of interest to you? Or would that excite you? And so again, you're just using different dialogues to help answer that objection. And of course, step number five, because we have a lot more slides to go through here, but step number five, next slide, please, Maria, is simply again, showing it. And sometimes you might have to show it visually because a lot of times to change someone's thinking, it has to be through visuals and dialogue at the same time. So a lot of times, as a technique that I always do when I'm showing people, for example, you don't have to have a 2999 to get started. I'll take out the application form. In fact, I always take out the application form at some point in time during my closing, and I'll actually refer to the different prices on the actual app form. So I'd say, well, you know what, you don't have to have 2999. You can even start with the gold package at 1499. So no, so let me show you something that might change your mind. And again, it's so key to get positioned because of the whole timing strategy, right? So, I mean, what else would you show? I know that besides, of course, the app form, how often are you showing circles and sticks, Reza, or the power positioning in all of your meetings?
I mean, it all depends on what my understanding is of the individual and what they're saying. Usually, when someone comes out right and tell you that it's not for them, even though after you went through the survey with them, well, what they tell you it's not for them. But people that come to you with objections, what they're telling you is they're interested. They just want you to answer certain things that they don't understand. So it's very important to understand that objections, like you said earlier, is not a bad thing; it's a good thing because they're telling you they're interested, except they need more information type of thing. And in terms of someone getting started, I mean, we have already gone through a proper tour. We've already showed them the power of this business and so on and so forth. And depending on the individual, I always talk about the timing. I always talk about positioning. I show them what's happened to me, what's happening on an ongoing basis. Usually I have people in the room or available on the three-way that I can reach, that these people joined a year ago, 2 years ago, even 3 years ago, only recently got going, and today they're enjoying the fruit of their labor because of the timing, the positioning, and so on and so forth. And I let them know, listen, if you are, whether it's time that you don't have, whether it's enough money you don't have, or whether it's time freedom that you have, you need this business more than anyone else, and you can simply get started with just a few $100s. So there's no real objection there. Anybody and everybody, if you answer the question properly, will join you at some level. Okay, that's very important. Also, again, to have the pen and paper ready and whatever it is that you're comfortable with to show how important it is, a positioning part and so on.
Absolutely. And of course, on to our last step again. So again, if you can repeat these 6 steps here, but the sixth step is of course closing it, right? So again, to get the prospects to agree with you and now move forward. So, once you've shown them that, there's more than one way of getting started in the business, for example, the retailer or the silver package or applying or gold, you can say, no, that doesn't make sense, once you agree to get positioned now, than waiting for 2 months and losing all these people from joining before you, right? So, if you can practice these 6 steps, as much as you can with every objection, one at a time, your prospect will have no other option but to join again. Because if you have effectively handled every question, every objection, and we're going to show you more dialogues, more examples of what you can say in certain situations, then again, they will definitely join after that because you now handled every single possible thought of why they shouldn't join. So moving right along here, we're going to go into some of the most common objections that, I've gone in the past and so have Reza, and exactly how we handle it. And it's kind of funny because, really all you have to do is just practice and listen to as many different people on how they handle objections and pick the ones that, work for you the best or work for your process the best and just learn them. And once you learn how to handle every single objection in this business, everyone will join you. So all the top earners who have, constant people signing up, the only difference between them and you is that they've learned to handle every single objection by learning and practicing over and over and over again. So the very first one that we have on the next slide, please, Maria, is a very common, I don't have time. And so, it's a very, very common objection here then. And usually what I say is, and we've already covered this quite a lot, is, the whole field I'll do the 6 steps, okay, during the 6 steps there. And if you even get this before your tour, while you're trying to book the tour, so even before you've actually booked the meeting, if you're already getting this from someone else, you could just say, no, come on, take a look and give me your opinion. Because sometimes people might think that you're trying to sell them something, so and they might give you an excuse that I might not have any time. And in that case, just ask them to come out, take a look, and just give me your opinion. There's no pressure. Just want to get your thoughts. And usually that turns around the table, and now they're gonna come out and see the actual tour. Now, if you get this, for example, after the tour, again, applying the 6 steps, but a lot of times those questions you can ask is, for example, well, how much time do you think you need to spend on building this business? Because some people just think that you just spend 40, 50 hours or a lot of hours on this business, where in reality, you only need a few hours, okay? And so what you could say is, well, really, with our tools and systems, you could be successful with only 10 hours a week, or even 5 hours a week, or 4 hours a week, okay? And one thing that you'll learn over time, and this is actually a technique that I learned through a lot of sort of DVDs I've listened to from the past, is asking really carefully, placed questions. So a lot of times when someone tells me, well, I don't have much time, and I told them, well, how much, I've asked them, well, how much time do you think you need on building this business? I love asking the question, well, well, how much time do you spend watching TV? Or how much time do you spend, on things that don't make you move forward in life? Whether it be, yeah, going to, sports events or going parties or going clubbings or that kind of stuff. But, ask questions. How much time do you spend on watching TV? Okay. And usually once you ask those kind of questions, your prospect is now thinking, wow, he's right. I spend almost 10 hours a week watching Desperate Housewives and it doesn't get me anywhere in life. And now you can finish by saying, spending time to make yourself richer is better than spending that time to make someone else rich. Watching TV is only making the TV show hosts and the actors and all of them richer. It's not making you richer. So spending time on yourself, and so in other words, you need to have this business in order to get more time. Because if you don't have any time right now, then doing what you're doing won't get you more time. So again, I have so many different ways of handling this, but Reza, what are some of your most sort of common, popular ways of handling this objection?
Well, go back to telling them I know exactly how they feel. I go back to it. It says I know exactly how you feel. I says I'll go back again to my own story. That basically what I used to do in the past, having a job and playing with the real estate on the side, being extremely busy to keep up my lifestyle, and it didn't seem like anytime soon that I was going to have that extra time for me to enjoy it with myself and my family. So basically, I told them, I said, you know what? I realized at that point, in order for me to be able to have that time for years to come, so I can enjoy life with my family, I needed to get into this business. And like you said, it doesn't take awful lot of time to do this business. depending on how fast you want to get to where you want to get to. Could be 5 hours a week, could be 10 hours a week. It all depends. I mean, when you tell people that 5 to 10 hours a week, you're going to say, really? Yeah, really. And this is basically, if you want to be busy for the remainder of your life, then keep doing what you're doing. If you want to change things around so you have time in the future to spend with loved ones, to enjoy life, then this is where you need to take a really good look. And I tell them, like, this is what's happened to me. I know exactly how they feel in terms of time, but this is what it is. And like you said, when you tell them 5 to 10 hours a week, they think about it. They're like, oh, wow. You'd be surprised how many people are going to be saying, oh, wow, that's all I need to put 5 to 10 hours? Then you can ask them, well, how many hours did you think that you needed to put towards this? Then they're going to tell you, well, I thought maybe you need 30, 40 hours. Then, that's actually a very good way of putting it, Rene.
I
Well
love,
said.
yeah, I love asking this question too sometimes. Is I love asking them, do you want to be extremely successful and filthy rich? And most people will say, well, yeah, of course I want to be very successful and filthy rich. And then I would ask them, well, do you know anyone who's filthy rich and very, very successful, and in order to get there, had a lot of time?
Yeah.
And they're thinking, most people who are filthy rich and very successful, don't have much time because they had to use a lot of time to get them to where they want to be, right? So again, ask those kind of carefully placed questions. Now, moving on to the next slide here, this again shows you again, what you can say to these people as well too. Okay, and on to the next slide again then. We already covered that, is again, ask them how much time do you think you need to spend on building this business here, or how much time do you spend on watching TV, or what do you spend your time on right now? Ask those questions to dig more and more, find out where they're spending their time, and have them realize that's not in the right place. Now, the next very common sort of objection that we get here on the next slide here. Now, I used to get this, funny enough, when I first got started, but today in 2012, after we have all the crazy accolades in media and of course celebrities, I hardly ever get this anymore. I mean, Reza, do you get this very often yourself, or?
Well, I have some people that sit down and they look at me and they say, some of them are very careful not to insult you. Some of them are just outright, it's based on their ignorance side, not having any knowledge about the industry. They say, is this one of those pyramid things? And I look at them and I'm like, what do you mean by that? I'm not sure exactly what you mean. They can say, like pyramid, like this and that. I says, you mean like your job? I'll tell them like your job. I mean, everything is the shape of pyramid. I don't know exactly what you mean by that. Then if they come out and say, is it a scam? I'm going to say, well, let me see. If they know me, well, then I'll take offense to it and say, well, do you think I would get involved into something that would be a scam? I answer like that right away. So they see the reaction in me. It's not, I'm not going to be loosey-goosey about it. Well, I don't know. What do you mean by that? No, I'm like, what do you mean? Do you think, you honestly believe that I would be involved in something that would be a scam? Then I'll talk to them and say, well, no, it just, I says, no. Usually it's your reaction that can bring a quick closure to this part, or it can make it a lengthy process. So this is where you need to be, if they say it's a pyramid, I'm going to say, what do you mean by that? I'm going to say, yeah, we're a direct sales. We're, the direct sales, network marketing. This is where actually people can get in today and surpass people that joined a year ago. In your job, you cannot do that. In your job, the owner is always going to be the owner. The managers and the supervisors are always going to be ahead of you. So, this is how I usually handle that. But I don't really put a lot of time and emphasis into this, because when people see my answer and reaction to what they say, and then they kind of like, okay, and ask them. Usually what I do is I ask them straight up, what do you mean by that? Can you explain to me what do you mean by that? And you'll quick realize that they will realize themselves that they have no idea what they're talking about either. Okay, so there's so many different ways of responding to this, handling this. But Rene, I know you have your style, your way of going about it. Why don't you share with us a couple of ways that you go about it?
Yeah, I mean, you're so right there, because most people, I'm telling you this, guys, on the call tonight, 99% of people who ask you that question really have no idea what they're talking about. They just have this sort of this sort of pre-programmed mindset into their head that everything that looks good is a pyramid scam or pyramid scheme, right? So, the second I get that, my first response is, if I could show you my face right now, I'd show you, but my face looks like one of those, huh, or what? Like a very confused look on my face. So they realize that they've asked a kind of a silly question, right? And so on the next slide, then, Maria, okay, as Reza just told you, is you ask them, well, please explain, what do you mean by that? And you'll find that that person is now stumbling and they're kind of stepping over their own foot, or they're kind of getting tongue twisted. They can't really explain even what they meant by that. Okay. And so usually what I tell people is this: look, if you're referring to a pyramid structure, okay, then really everything in this world is a pyramid structure. Not just the pyramids in Giza and Egypt, but also your job. Because do you make more than your manager? Does your manager make more than the VP? And so again, structure-wise, everything is a pyramid. Whether it's Walmart, Costco, IBM, Telus, Rogers, Bell, everything is pyramid structure by nature. Okay, and that they completely will accept. Then I'll say, well, so if you're referring to a pyramid scheme, then some people just don't understand. So I tell them straight up. I said, look, a pyramid scheme is where people are putting in money and others are making money, but there's no product or service being sold. And that is by definition on Wikipedia what a pyramid scheme or scam is. Is that people putting money into this plan here, and people are getting paid out at the top, but really there's no product or service being sold. Okay, and so once I finish that, I simply say to them, look, do you really think that number one, that Visa and Mastercard would partner with these kind of companies? Of course not. I would then say, and pyramid schemes are shut down in Canada and the world within a few months of being in operation. And for real, I mean, come on now. I mean, we have the American Business Journal. We've been featured by the Canadian Business Journal, Preferred Magazine, Viva International, Canadian Jeweler, sponsor of TIP. Now I'm listing all these amazing things, and my attitude and my tone, I'm so cocky, and for a reason. I'm trying to prove a point here. I'm like, are you kidding me? Of course we're not. And now they've realized, wow, that was a really stupid question, and wow, that was a really simple thought there. And I mean, really, with all these, after showing all these videos and the Fairy President commercial and the TIFF commercial and the fashion show, I said, are you for real? And now they realize, that was a really simple thing, really confusing question. They just didn't understand what they're talking about. But they have that thought, and it's our job. It's our job to help them understand and to clarify what is in their heads, no matter how misinformed or how wrong that is. And so, of course, we have so many things that are expanding worldwide. So it's your choice what you want to say. Um, but of course, moving on to the next objection here is, the very common, I don't know how to sell. I'm not in the I'm not in the selling business. So Reza, how would you handle this objection here?
Okay, well, I'm just going to touch base a little bit on the last topic. Basically, whenever, whether you're a new member, whether you've been in the business for a little while or not, you want to make sure you have a third-party credibility on hand. Basically, Rene named a few people, a few third-party accolades. You want to make sure you have the mag pack on hand, all the magazines or inserts of the magazines, media, kind of like people like organizations like Business for Home and Networking Times. You want to make sure to understand what type of people are involved in our industry, what Bill Clinton says about us, and Warren Buffett owning a number of companies and so on. So you want to make sure you understand it's not just you and your little gang there that you put something together just to make a penny, but it's a big business, and you are in a legitimate industry with big figures involved in it. And you know what? You tell them is one thing, but you're going to make sure you have these material on hand. Let the third party do the talking for you. Okay? I remember when we got started in this business, we didn't have nearly a fraction of what we have today. Now we have enough third party that can do all the talking for you, bring all the credibility to you and your business. So make sure you're equipped, okay? And don't trust your memory and so on. So yes, the next one is basically I don't know how to sell. I'm not in the selling business. What I do tell them is, again, I understand how you feel. Going back to, I know how you feel. I felt the same way at first when I saw this. But what you don't understand is this is not about selling. This is about sharing. Basically, we have a number of different ways of earning in this business, in this company, and you may be good at one or two or three of them, maybe good at one, but it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, there's so many different ways of earning, and the fact that you can choose one, two, or all of the above, the areas that you're not good at. Since we built this business as a team, it's every link is important. You may not be good at certain areas, but you will have people in your organization, your team will be good at others. So at the end of the day, until you become good, we call it earn as you learn. This is where the support kicks in. Well, team unity comes in hand, how every member affects the other one, and working as a team, as an organization, you will benefit from one or more areas or all of the above. So this is where I tell them, yeah, exactly. I know exactly how you feel because I'm not a salesperson either, but this is what's happening with my business.
And thank you so much, Reza. And I mean, there's so many different ways and things you can ask to sort of stimulate the prospect's mindset. But for me, same thing. When I see someone, I'll tell them, we're not in the selling business, we're in the sharing business. And I'll give an example, and I'll actually ask the prospect, have you ever been to a good restaurant and had an amazing experience at a restaurant? And they would say, well, yes. Then I'll say, well, what do you do usually once you go home or you go to work the next day? You tell all your friends and your family, right? And or for example, I'll say, I mean, what do you do when you watch a really good movie? What do you do? Well, you go on Facebook, you go on, you're telling the world, amazing movie, or so usually when you have something really good that you experience, by human nature, you share it, right? So, and then to link it back to our business, usually I say, if you found a way where you can, have a home-based business that can reduce your taxes by $3,000 to $9,000, what should you do? And then they say, well, I should share it. And I say, exactly. Because why would you not share an amazing way? Because I mean, for someone to get a raise of $3,000 to $9,000 a year through their jobs, trust me, it's not easy. How many more hours of overtime do you have to work, and butt kissing to your manager, or working overtime, or just playing Mr. Nice Guy just to get all those brownie points from your boss, right? It's not even guaranteed that you get a raise because the company's not doing so well. So what I tell someone is, look, really, if you know of a way where they can get back a refund of $3,000 to $9,000, which is almost guaranteed by having a home-based business, why won't you share it? And now the prospect understands, wow, I should really be sharing with people what I have here. Because if it's good enough for you, it's good enough for them. And don't forget, when you actually make a $9,000 raise in your job, it's not all cash in pocket, right, folks? How much of that is actually going to be in taxes? I mean, if you make $9,000 raise, you're probably taking home around half, $4,000 or $5,000. So really, again, if you have anyone in your life that who has a full-time job and no home-based business, they need to hear from you. You need to share this, okay? And moving on to the next objection here, of course, Reza, what do you say when someone says, I don't know enough people?
Well, I there's a lot of different ways I can respond to that, but I say, well, it's simply not true. First thing I go with stats. I says one thing I learned, which kind of blew my mind was this, that average adult over the age of 18 knows 2,000 people on first name basis. Okay, this is a fact. This is studies done. This is not from me. This is a fact. I tell them that. Secondly, I tell them that what. It's not about how many people you know. It's not about knowing millions of people. In our business, in our structure, you simply need to know two people. If you can bring in two people and show this opportunity to two people, the duplication, I do. There's a lot of different ways you can go with the duplication, especially us being a binary, variable binary, okay? And how basically two can lead to financial freedom in a perfect world. That's an eye opener for many. And they say, really? I only need two? Because everybody, whether they tell you I don't know anyone, I know someone, everybody knows two people. Okay? And this is where it actually opens the door for them. They're going to say, okay, well, I know more than two people. They may not tell you that, but they're thinking, okay, only two people. Okay, well, that's doable. I can do that. And this is where it's very important that you are familiar with your pay structure, you're familiar with your binary, variable binary, and share that with them with a big piece of pen and paper.
Yeah, and one thing that I found as well, Reza, that me and you talked about before as well, is that most people who tell you this, that say I don't know that many people, they don't really mean that they don't know that many people. What they're really saying to you is that I don't know enough people who would be interested in this business. So,
Absolutely.
so in their mind, they're actually prejudging, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they're not really being honest with you because they actually know a bunch of people. Because unless they live, in a cave somewhere, in the mountains where no one goes to, you know, they know a lot of people. But they're just giving you the objection that I don't know enough people who are interested in this business. And that's where on our next slide, Maria, please. I love asking this question is, again, do you know two people who might be interested in more time or more money, or in time and financial freedom, or more time, financial freedom, and saving on their taxes? I can guarantee you the answer will be, of course I do, or yes. Okay? Or on the flip side, you could ask them, well, do you know anyone who complains about their job, about having more time and wanting more money? And again, everyone has heard of their friends that are complaining about no time and they want more money, right? So really, sometimes objections that you get aren't really, what they're saying isn't what they actually mean. And it's our job to dig deeper. And by default, I can guarantee you, if someone says I don't know enough people, they don't mean that. They just mean that they can't think of anyone who they want to show the business to. And that's how these two questions here can help you turn that around. Reza, would you want to add anything else to that point?
No, it's well covered. I mean, this is basically it's just a matter of kind of putting the puzzles in the right places in their mind, in the thoughts, and if you do that well, chances are more often than not that the individual will make a decision of joining a business.
All right. So on to the next objection here. Again, we have about another 10 more slides here. So sorry for the length here, but it's such a big topic that we want to cover as much as possible here. But on the next slide there, the next objection is, I don't think this business is for me. And I was talking to one of my leaders in Alberta, Calgary actually, and she told me that someone once told them that, that they're not passionate about the business. And it's kind of the same thing where they're saying that I don't think the business is for me, or I don't have any passion for this business. And again, so on the next slide there, Maria, um, you know, again, you want to ask more questions. So you want to say, well, why do you think that way? And what is it that you think this business is not for you? Because that's a very, very generic, sort of open-ended thought. It's not very specific why they think it's not for them. So again, dig, 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 keep asking questions and ask them, well, why do you think that's so? Or what part of this business do you think is not for you? Okay. And a lot of times to follow up on that question, I'll even ask, well, is it is it the more time that's not appealing to you? Is it the ability to make more money that's not appealing to you? Or is it the ability to help save on taxes and help your friends save on taxes that's not appealing to you? I might even lead with those kind of sort of pre-planned questions. But again, once I ask those questions, I just tell them, look, this is a business with a very small investment, but potentially a great return. And again, I mean, and really, this objection again is so generic that they actually have something else that's on their mind. And once you can keep digging and ask, well, what is exactly that you think is not for you? And then they give you another objection. So keep digging and digging until you find the core seed that's in their mind. And then again, apply what we've already taught you. So, Reza, I'm not sure if you want to add more to this because it's kind of a generic objection, but any other comments you want to add?
Well, usually at this point, I look at it one way and say, okay, great. I mean, I respect your opinion. Just so I'm clear, I just have one question for you. And they're going to say, okay. I'm going to say, what part of this business is exactly not for you? Is it the big money or the free time? They just want to know that part. And at this point, they're kind of like, well, so this is how usually, this is my 100% of the time, usually that's my response. What part of it's not for you? The big money or the free time? And that's usually again, most often than not, it comes down to money portion. It always somehow leads that to that part. Somehow along the way, they thought that it's a $3,000 business, not a $399 business. And if they understood as a $399 business, and Launchpad will bring them up to the $3,000 level, almost 100% of the time you're gonna have a commitment from your guest.
All right, fantastic. Now, this next objection here, Maria, thanks for changing the slides there, is one that I don't really get very often because I think in this day and age, in 2012, most people now have been, more exposed to, of course, the reasons why having a home-based business is very important, or having their own business, or having, people realize that nowadays to make more money requires more time and effort. But you might get the random, I don't know if this business will work. And so, Maria, on the next slide, please. Again, a lot of times I have to ask that question. Well, what part of this business do you think won't work? Because again, that's a very, very, to me, a very generic objection. I've got it a few times, and I have to dig, ask those questions again, and then also, what is exactly that you think that this business won't work for you? And so, I mean, and usually after you're hearing a lot of things, um, one great thing to say is that the amount of money you make is entirely up to you. If you put in full-time hours, you get full-time pay. Part-time hours give you part-time pay. Sometime hours give you sometime pay, right? And so again, there's so many questions you can ask, and I hope that you've been taking a lot of notes down over the call. If you miss a few of the questions that we asked, you can go ahead and play back the recording. But really, you have to keep asking those questions, find out what's the core reason why, and again, handle that objection. So, Reza, anything you want to add there?
Well, you know what? If someone says, I don't know if this business will work, my question is, what do you mean if this business will work? Will it work for you, or will it work in general? And sometimes you'd be surprised. People are wondering if this company, this business is going to work. And I tell them, well, let me see. We started in 2005, and like I've showed you along the night, this is what's been happening. These are some of our top earners. This is what's happening. The company expansion in 70 countries and so on. So the proof is in the printout. The business does work. Now, will it work for you or not? It's entirely up to you, like you said. Whether you want to make it a full-time career, you want to make it part-time, or you want to just supplement and make it a sometime. Make sure they understand that this business is working. We are going places. This is what's happening with us. Now it's entirely up to them what they want to do with this. If they decide to join and partner with us, they're going to have all these at their disposal, the support, and everything else that comes along with being part of this company. Now at this point, it's entirely up to them what they want to do with it.
Yeah, and one thing I love to add there is, if they're referring to the business as you mentioned, of course, you have all the Mac Pack 2 and all that kind of juicy media type
Glamo
stuff as
Pack,
well
yeah.
too. Absolutely. And if it comes down to, themselves, I always like to give them a point of reference. So for example, I would ask them, well, do you think that what you've been doing in your current day job that's brought you to where you are today is working? Do you want to remain on that course of path, or do you want to change where you'll be in the next 5 years? And I'll just be very straight up. I said, look, if you want to change your future, you've got to do something else. Give this business a try, get started. It's a very low investment, you can make a lot of money, but give it a try and see how it goes. Okay, if you don't give it a try, you won't know. And usually that sort of turns them around, and now they're thinking about joining and giving it a try and doing the trainings and whatnot. Okay. So on to the next objection here, and we kind of already covered this a bit before. Maria, the next slide, please. Is I have no muchos, or I have no money. And Reza, I know that you have probably got this a few times too, but why don't you go ahead and get started here? What you would say?
Well, you know what I tell them is, you have no money. I says, well, I kind of look at them. I says, you understand it costs as little as $399. So you can start earning tonight, not next week, not next month, but tonight. Do you want to keep going the course of not having money? And even if I tell them straight bluntly, I share quickly with them. When I got started, that was one of the objections I gave. Because in order for me to get started back then, it was cost almost $3,000. This is some 20 years ago, right? And, you have no money. Well, you know what? Go get it. Go find the money. Because if you want things to change, you got to change. Here you got something that takes minimal investment to give you massive return. You can start earning as early as tonight, as early as next hour. And I do share some examples of people that joined and how much they made the first night. We have stories of people making $1,600, $1,500 the first night. We have people making $2,000 in the first week. We have people making $2,000 in the first month. I share all those stories with them and make sure they understand this is not something that like you said earlier on in the slides, they don't want to be sold on something. If they feel that they're spending money and they don't believe there's a return, then yes, they'll have an objection. But if they know that they can simply invest $399 and change their life as early as today, trust me, people will find the money. I tell them bluntly and straight, if you do not even have $399, there's all the more reason why you need to find the money today. Borrow the money, sell something, go get a loan, get a mortgage, or whatever you got to do. I'm not shy to tell people that. You need this. If you don't have $399 to start something that can change your future, then you need to go and find that money, whatever it costs. We have a lot of examples of, when Rene, our CEO, got into business, and I was there with this individual that had Ferraris and Porsche and Rolls Royce in the laneway, and our answer was we just didn't have the money, the $2,800. He used the example of, well, you knew that we love cars and all that. He says, you like that Porsche, right? I says, yeah. And he had told us earlier that he had paid $92,000 for that Porsche. And that's in some 20 years ago. He says, if I was to tell you, you can have this Porsche for $2,800 by 9 a.m., and this is 2 a.m. we're talking to this individual. We already knew he was successful. So he says, if I was to tell you, you can have that Porsche at 9 a.m. for about $2,000, what would you do? So my answer was simple. Well, you know what? I'll find the money. Doesn't matter what I got to do. I'll find the money because I know that Porsche is worth 90 grand. And his answer was, well, you know what? That Porsche is a one-time deal. This business is for life. It's going to give you a Porsche every single month. Go find the money where you were going to find the money for the Porsche. And you know what? We found the money. We made sure we come with the money. So it's just the delivery. You got to make sure they visualize and understand what it is that you're telling them.
I think one thing in common here that we have with Reza is we're so strong when we get to this objection, because really when you get to this objection, most of the time it's not that, they have this sort of this broke mindset, because if they actually had some money, they'd probably join at a lower package. Even without you telling them, they probably join at like the silver and ask you the question, well, can I upgrade as we go along? So really the people who tell you this objection, I have no money, most cases, in my opinion, they actually don't mean that, because again, they have other options they've seen during the tour of joining. So really, this is where like Reza and myself, you have to be very strong and very very hard on this. And I kind of lean forward on the table. I kind of look at them. I'm like, I say, John, if you don't have 399 or 199 in your bank account today to change your life, you are in some serious trouble. And what you're doing right now is not working. If you want to change where you're going to be 5 years from now, you got to do something different. You actually need this business. And
I've had people, Rene, sorry, I've had people that um, had seen the business in the past, actually did join, but didn't really apply. Whatever the reason was, they didn't do anything with the business, only to come back around because of hearing us in the media and around. They decided to come and re-look at what we have. Some of them had already joined, some hadn't joined, and with the introduction of the new system, with the launch pad, that anyone can get in at 399 and reach a level of diamond without spending a penny, they were ecstatic. They were just absolutely blown away. They were ecstatic. This is, oh my God, this is what we've been waiting for all our life. So this is, again, no real objection that I don't have 399. If they can understand what 399 can do for them in return, that will change the game altogether.
Yeah, and sometimes people say, well, I have this debt, or I have some loans and credit cards, and really to me it's like, and this is why I sort of finished out. I know if you are in debt or you don't have 199, then you need this business because you'll get the tax savings. So at the very least, what you'll get back after 1 year of doing this business is at least $3,000 to $9,000. Would you like to have in your pocket $3,000 to $9,000 at the very least in tax returns? But possibly $20,000, $30,000 or $40,000 of earnings, right? So I think the point here that me and Reza both are just trying to say here is that it's not a real objection. You gotta be hard on them and tell them that if they don't have the money right now, then they actually need this business. If they don't have time, again, you need to have this business then, right? So I think a little bit late here, but we have I think about 3 or 4 more here, Reza, right? So let's just fly through this really quickly here. And the next one here, of course, is I need time to think about it. So Reza, what do you usually tell or do or say then to handle?
Well, again, my question is right to the point. What do you need to think about? Straight to the point. What is it that you need to think about? Then at this point, they're going to say, well, I just like to go and, look at things or get my money put together or talk to my spouse or usually people have something to say why they need to think about this. I tell them, well, you know what? If I was you, I would, make the decision now, especially with the amount of investment it is. It's very small. Secondly, positioning is very important. I share with, a lot of different occasions that usually I use Sherry's story and your story, and how a week made a difference between Catherine getting in and Sherry having them in the downline possibly or not. So I use stories like that. That timing is very important. 1 minute, I've seen a matter of a minute that someone could have been in someone's team, instead it turned around the opposite because they took their time to get in the system. And in this business, again, like we said, you need 2 people to make you filthy rich in this business. You don't want to miss that one of those 2. So that's where I get right to the point.
Again, same thing with me as well there, Reza. Very well said, very well put. Sharing those team strategies again and the power positioning and those stories as well. And I'd like to ask a question as well. After that they had given that objection, which is you realize the more time you think about this, that the less money you're getting back from, from your tax savings. So I mean, and I asked him, do you really want to wait another day and to lose more in your tax savings? And they realize that, wow, like, I mean, if I want to get started here and start saving money, making some money, then today is definitely the best time because, by tomorrow, if you go to work, you drive the car, you pay the car insurance, you buy the gasoline, you have a meals, you buy some new laptop or whatever it is. Those are all the things that you could be expensing by having this home-based business. And again, you might miss out on 1, 2 people, but those 1 or 2 people you might miss out on might turn into 100, 1,000, like some people have in this company, right? And so, one thing that you have to really sort of portray when you get the objection that I need time to think about it is you need to push urgency. And this is a time to really push hard on urgency. Oops, excuse me. Sorry about that. But yes, again,
Bless
urgency,
you.
yeah, the power of positioning and why today makes a big difference in joining tomorrow. Because most people, believe me, when they see the business, they actually want to join. So our job is to tell them why joining today is different than joining a week from now. So on to the second last objection I think we have here, which is I don't like or wear jewelry or it's a business for females. Now, I have a big thing I say about this, but Reza, number one earner goes first, so you go right ahead.
Well, usually I use a number of different examples. I says one of the good ones that people always agree with me is that do you honestly believe the owner of McDonald's loves his hamburgers? Do you think that he lives on those hamburgers? Do you think he went and people go and invest millions of dollars opening McDonald's because they love hamburgers? No, because it's what makes business sense. And jewelry, whether you wear jewelry or not, it is a fact that over 85, 86% of the population, people in the world, wear some form of jewelry. And the fact that it's a precious commodity in our case, constantly gaining value, the fact that companies like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Chanel, in the last 4 years, supposed to be a global recession, they've been flourishing. It goes to show me that's the segment of market I want to be in. This is the part I want to be a part of, and I want to make sure I benefit from this growth. So whether you like jewelry or not is not the point. It's what makes business sense. And the fact that this business for female, we're not asking here for you to wear earrings and necklaces. This is about, again, how many percentage of population spend money in luxury, in precious commodities, and this is where you want to be a part of, so you can actually enjoy this growth to change your life and along many other people. So I share that with them.
Well, thank you. And I mean, for me, I guess over the time, I used to do a lot more sort of, explaining, but now I sort of learned, how Reza and Ramin does it is I love to ask a lot of questions. So when someone tells me, I don't like to wear jewelry, I ask them, I'll tell them, number one, it's not really what you like, it's what the market likes in business. And I'll ask them a question. I'll say, I mean, I'll say, are you passionate about, bug spray? And they'll be like, what? But are you passionate or do you like bug spray? And they'll be like, well, no. And I said, well, if you can make $1 billion selling bug spray, would you do it? And the answer is always yes. And so my point is, it doesn't matter what you like. I'm not passionate about underwear, but hey, CK makes good underwear and they make a lot of money, right? So it's not about what you like; it's about what sells in the market. And lastly, if they tell you about it's a business for females, I would say to them, so do you not know any females in your life? Because in network marketing, I mean, more than half of the population who's very successful in network marketing are all females, because they might be the stay-at-home moms or the very entrepreneurial moms or but more than half of the very successful people in network marketing are actually females. So if you're a male, but I hope if you know females or you like females, then it's a great business to have for them as well too. So again, really, I had one really quick joke here. One story, which is I was doing this meeting with another company who was selling those tampons, those pads for females, and one of the other uplines got kind of cocky and said, Rene, who wears jewelry, who likes jewelry, and I had this really baffled look at me. I was like, are you kidding me? So I turned to his downline who was there, who was meeting with my downline, and then they both invited the uplines to be there. I said to the guy, I said, excuse me, Jim, and this is the downline. I said, Jim, would you rather after 1 year have 20 boxes of pads or have a nice 21K gold timepiece, or 21K gold fairy marsh ring? and his downline in front of him said, "I prefer the diamond," right? So, I mean, just a lot of funny ways of how you can handle different kind of things. And I guess the last objection we have to cover for today, before we're done the call tonight, is the next slide there, please, Maria. Is I need to discuss with my partner or spouse. So Reza, you can go right ahead first. Thank you.
Well, right away, I tell them that, listen, what are you gonna go tell your spouse or your partner? I ask them straight up. Are you gonna go home and try to explain this whole business? And they're gonna say, well, I'm gonna show them. I says, please don't. I says, what you need to do if you want your spouse or partner, if it's early enough, I'm gonna say, why don't we talk to her right now, with me? Because you may have seen this, but there's no way you can explain this. So I would be more than glad to sit down with your spouse or partner and explain this business to them, let them see a proper tour, let them understand the full picture, and that way she can make a proper decision along with you. That's the first thing I say. And secondly is basically uh, what you want to do is, again, is very, very, very important, very crucial to send them home with a glamour pack. Because people, whether they promise you they're not going to say anything or they will, when they get home, first thing they're going to do, they're going to call their spouse, the partner, and try to explain this business to what they understand. And usually what it comes across is $3,000 to spend to buy a bunch of jewelry. And another part, so that's just a no-go, right? In most cases, the partner is going to say, especially if it's the husband that's at home, he's going to say, okay, here she goes again. He's going to go spend $3,000 on jewelry that we can't afford right now. So you got to make sure you send them home with a glamour pack. Make sure you send them home with some material that when they get home, they can actually, it's not what they say, it's what they show to their spouse. Okay. Another thing, one other topic that we don't have a slide for, but I'd like to share is that some people leave and say, okay, well, me becoming a member, I need to pay so much money every month into this business, which really most times they don't understand what that is. In our company, we don't have an auto ship. You're not forced to buy health and nutrition products that's going to be outdated. It's going to be expired and thrown in the garbage. Believe me, I've done it. Okay, I've done it. I have a lot of it. Some of it I used to try to feed it to my dog, and used to give it away as gift, call it a gift, and trying to get rid of it before they get outdated and expired. Right? With us, we don't have that. We want to make sure they understand the IA program. IA program is basically for someone that says, I don't know how to sell, I'm not a retailer. You want to make sure it's very simple. By simply contributing $35, $75, or $150 a month into your own account, you can let it accumulate, either make 1, 2, or 3 big sales a year, like I do, and all of that IA that's been accumulated is being used up for the purpose of retail to someone, and you made a whack load of money out of that, or you just buy a couple of pieces that constantly gains in value with the price of silver, gold, and diamond. We all know what's happening with the price of these things. They continuously gain value, adds to your portfolio. So you want to make sure they understand our IA program, what that is. It's not something that they just pay out every month that goes to nowhere. This is an investment, whether it is for the purpose of retailing. They can simply retail that amount every single month, put it towards IA, use it to make a retail sale, home shows, home parties. They can use that to purchase products that actually make good retail profit return on that. Or if they're not big sellers, they can make one sale every 3 months, every 6 months, or every year, or every 2 years for that matter, all that matters, and make it massive return on their one sale, the money that they've been putting towards their IA. So other than that, yeah, not to get too far off the subject, basically, again, you want to make sure you have the glamour packs with you. If that's the case, more importantly, trying to get on the phone with the spouse, get together with that spouse that night. If not, set up a time and try and explain this individual. Do not try and explain the business till I do the explanation for your spouse.
Oh, thank you very much, Reza. One thing for me as well too, back to the IA point is, really I just ask people, does it really make sense to go to, the stores and buy all these gifts for your friends and make the malls rich, where you could, save every month into your IA and use your own money to buy gifts and make yourself rich? And instantly people realize that, wow, I could actually buy for my own IA for these gifts and make myself rich, right? So, and one thing that I love to ask, that I actually did this when I was in Calgary a few weeks ago, was someone told me, well, I have to go home and talk to the wife, whatever it is. And I kind of leaned forward again and very, very sort of seriously, I asked this person, so I asked them, so if you went home and you tried to explain this to your wife, which we don't recommend, you should bring her here and let's talk to her. And if she says no to you, that you cannot do this business, would you still turn down this opportunity that you saw tonight of be able to save money and make money and to change your life? Would you still say no? And then that person said to me, well, no, I would still join. And I say, well, if that's the case, then because again, by tomorrow someone might join, you might lose your position. Plus, again, the whole idea with the tax savings, just join now then. And so in most cases, if you do that, the person joins right away because now you've had them agree to you that they're not being dependent upon their spouse to join. Because you can also ask them, are you doing this for yourself or are you doing it for your family? And they'll say, well, I'm doing it for both really. And I'll ask them, well, so if you went home and your spouse said no to you, would you still do it for yourself or for your family? And then they say yes. Then I say, well, great. So then just go and just join now. So we had a bunch more objections that we could always handle, and a bunch of questions coming in. But of course, again, we have only so much time here. It's already almost 10:42 p.m. here. Three last quick slides here, really quickly here. Maria, next slide, please. Again, in the delivery, the key thing is that as you're sort of handling these objections, the words C and E, confidence, of course, enthusiasm, gotta have those two things. Be confident, not too pushy. The three Ds, the three E's, and the three F's. So again, confidence and enthusiasm. Maria, the next slide, please. Again, CPCV is create prospect-centered value. Again, process must be able to easily recognize that any value identified is in their best interest first and foremost. Okay, so if you want to gain their trust and create long-term relationships, make sure you focus on them. And of course, our last slide today is one food for thought, a quote by Walt Disney, is the way to get started is to quit talking and start doing. So the only way to get good at handling objections is to do more tours and have more situations where you'll have people asking you those kinds of objections. So I want to really
Awesome.
quickly, thank, of course, my co-presenter, Reza Mesgarlou. Thank you so much, Reza, for taking the time and your knowledge and expertise for being on the call with
My
us
pleasure.
tonight. Thank you
My
so
pleasure.
much. Yeah, thank you, Reza. And of course, Maria, for being our amazing host for tonight. We do have some, I guess, questions coming in here as well too. But of course,
Renee,
yeah,
what I was wondering, do we have, I mean, the call is pretty much officially over, but for those that, maybe we can answer a couple of questions for some of the people,
Yeah,
um,
sounds good to me. So, for those of you who are okay, you can definitely hop off again. I'm going to keep the recording going here in that case then, and just open up the call to any questions that we have. And again, Reza, I think we should give a special thanks to Maria for being our amazing host for tonight, and of course, for doing the slide clicking as well too. So thank you, Maria, for that as well. And of course,
Thanks so
thank
much, Renee. You guys did an amazing job. Thanks so much, Reza and Renee. And really, like I'm listening to you guys and realizing the bigger your success is, the more questions and challenges you have to face, and which is why you're so strong and you're so powerful. And really, you're strong leaders and building your businesses all around the world, different countries and cities. You're right, Renee. I mean, questions are keep coming in. People are making comments. Lines are jam-packed. People all the way from Netherlands, from Europe, from different part of the world are on the line and making comments. So I don't know. Do you want me to go through the comments, or do you want to go
yes,
through the
please go
comments
ahead.
and questions?
actually, no, I
Go ahead,
mean,
Maria.
maybe to make it easier, I can just
So we
go
have
through
Errol
the.
Trent. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just thinking maybe to make your life a bit easier, I can just kind of go through the ones I see here and just sort of focus on the ones that are actually questions and not so much the comments here. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I do see what. Thank you very much, Maria. Someone did mention here that people do need time to think about it, and I know what we're saying here tonight is that of course people sometimes have to think about it, but your job and your role is that the stronger you become, you will find that people actually don't need that much time to think about it because you're doing a very good job at explaining everything. And this person commented that not everything can have a tax return, and absolutely incorrect. If you talk to, again, your accountant, because you want to talk to a qualified accountant, one that actually understands a home-based business very well, is pretty much everything that you have can be expensed. All right. So again, we don't have time for that. I did do a whole training, a live training on tax information. So again, if you go back onto ourgwt.com, okay, on the left side, you will see a link that says tax information. Go there and get all of your information when it comes to understanding the taxes here. Okay. From, of course, Johan, I guess he's saying Rene and Reza, awesome training, very basic and important. This must be your second nature, handling objections. Best regards from the Netherlands in the middle of the night. And I think me and Reza can both agree that it has become second nature. Especially for me, the first time, it was not at all, my nature or my training to be able to handle objections. But just with time and persistent and constantly doing more and more meetings and more closings, it becomes second nature. Okay.
Yes, Johan, it's also, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, these are the skills that you're not born with. These are the things that you become good at. Practice makes perfect. Initially, when you start, it's like you're riding a bicycle. You got to learn how to ride it, and as you learn how to ride a bike, the more you practice, you can reach all the way to the level of Tour de France. It's just the more you do it, the better you become at it. Practice makes perfect. That's simple as that. Anybody can acquire these skills. Anybody can become good at this. It's just you have to apply yourself. That's all.
Okay, fantastic. And from Natalie Merkley, she said, "Wow, thank you very much for this information. 8 pages of very, very informative and useful notes. So thank you very much for that, Natalie." And from Errol Trench, the excitement man, he said this training should cost $2,999. That you guys, this is great for making $1 million. Thank you very much, Errol Trench, for that. Again, this training again is very, very important because not just in this business, but whatever kind of business or sales that you are in, tonight's training is absolutely hands-on skills for that matter. From Dior Matthews, he says, "This was fantastic and will help all to our businesses. Thanks so much for inspiring training. And when will this be on the GWT training?" Actually, right when this call is done, I will be converting it and uploading it to YouTube, and of course posting it on the GWT family page under the file section under recorded webinars and more. So you should see that latest by tonight. From Cindy Kwan, she says, "Wow, amazing training. Thank you, Reza and Rene. What do you say when someone tells you they don't need more money or it isn't a priority?" And Reza, you want to go first on that one?
Usually,
It's a lie.
that's yeah, that's one of those things that um, I used to hear this a lot. People saying that you know what, I would never. These are people I know firsthand. I would never spend that kind of money for that kind of car, or I would never spend that kind of money for a meal. I would never spend that kind of money for this and that. It's just a justification. This is something I learned a long time ago. People need to justify, and that's just the one way of making themselves feel better. It's not true whatsoever that people. I mean, you could be someone that doesn't need a lot of money or doesn't really want a lot of money, but at the same time, if you're that kind of individual, you can always help surrounding. There's so many people in this world that can actually use extra money. They can actually be helped with different disaster things. So this is not really a credible objection. This is not really a good statement that I don't need or I don't want. It's just they're justifying. So, I don't know, just
Mhm.
make a couple of examples and leave it as that.
Yep, and even for me, like, if you keep asking and getting to know more about this person, you'll find out that in most cases, they could use more time with their family, or they could use more money. Even not maybe not for this business, it might not be a priority for them, but there are other priorities in their lives that they could use this business to help gain towards. And of course, if you do meet someone, I know the unlikely 5% of the population that is financially already free, a lot of times, I asked him, I mean, you've done a great job at becoming financially free, but have you been able to help other people achieve the same results? And usually they'll say no because it's only their own business. And I would say, well, wouldn't it be nice to help other people be able to achieve the kind of results that you have as well too? So again, helping other people get what they have as well. So thank you for that. From Junior Estoesta, he says, "Amazing training, Reza and Rene. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and expertise in this particular subject." You're very, very welcome there, Junior. From Camilla Latang, she says, "Amazing training once again. Thank you. Many of my questions were answered tonight." Again, if you guys play this training over and over again, I can guarantee you'll pick up more and more and more. So from Annalie Riga, she says, as usual, super duper presentation and training, Rene and Reza. Thank you for your information. Has enormous value to all new and also old members as well too. Absolutely, it's a great training for old and new members. I definitely agree with that. From Jason Barry, great webinar, guys. I like the highlighting point that people can save up to $9,000 annually in income taxes by owning their own business. Jason, you're absolutely correct because really, I don't care if someone thinks that this business is for whatever reason below them or they think that they're too good for the business. Everyone who has a full-time job can definitely use a side business to have more saving on taxes. And for your information, if someone, for example, might be saying to you that, I don't have a job right now, no worries, because you can actually carry forward your losses into the future, up to 5 years in the future, and still get back those tax savings even in the future when they actually do have a high-paying job. Of course, from Sean Singh, he says, "Great job, gentlemen. This is a call everyone should listen to over and over." Absolutely agree with that, Sean Singh. From DR Master says, "Thank you once again." From Annie Dupaville, she said, "This is so helpful. You guys together are so powerful. Thank you. You're very welcome." Again, from Aiden, he says, from Bradford, Ontario, the TNT team, "I don't often counter these objections, but I have had it a few times. How would you answer this one? I have joined a workplace where it is against a policy to start my own business." Again, I have a big, response to that one. But Reza, do you want to go first on that one?
Well, it's again, it's not really true.
Yeah.
Anybody and everybody can do something as long as it's not a conflict of interest, as long as it's not, for example, myself, with my job, basically I could not speak about the opportunity while I work, but anything I did outside the work did not make a difference. It didn't matter. It was not, so I did what I needed to do, and I did it. So I don't know any job out there that will tell you that you cannot have another source of income. I just simply haven't seen one. If there is one, please enlighten me. But there's no. I don't believe there's such thing that exists.
I know that in some cases, if you're, for example, like a financial advisor, for insurance companies, they kind of have this weird clause that says something like that. But really, as long as you're not sort of taking your clientele from insurance companies and trying to sell them something else, it's actually okay. So it's not really a valid objection. And again, regardless, even if that was the case, which is not the case anyways, but everyone always has a mom's name or a wife's name that they could use to join the business, and all the people who are joining are being sponsored, by this other name, for example, the wife or the kids or the mom or the dad. So really, in most cases, you want to find out if that's really, really the objection on their mind, because I doubt it is. And of course, if it really is the objection on mind, you can tell, well, you can use your wife's name, you can use your son's, your daughter, your mom, your dad's name, your dog's name, whatever it might be, and of course, get started right away. So I think we have one last comment coming in here again. And Aiden also says, once again, thank you for experiences and helping us on them. It was a real honor by the 2 million in GWT. You're very welcome there from me and Reza. And of course, from Felicita Williams, marvelous job, Rene and Reza. It is important to be knowledgeable about our business and therefore be able to be firm and direct and kind when talking to people. Thanks. So I think that covers pretty much all of the comments for tonight. Again, want to thank everyone for joining us on the call as well. This call will be live again on the family Facebook page as soon as we get off and do the conversion here. So Maria, back to you. But again, Reza, thank you so much for joining me tonight on the call.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure. Hopefully, we answered a lot of the questions. I mean, there's all the objections that come in through are really, around the topics. Maybe not exactly what we covered, but pretty close to the topic that we covered. So, listen to this audio. Hopefully, you took a lot of notes, practice it, and you'll be success is inevitable, everyone.
Absolutely, Reza. What an amazing training, and I can't wait to actually have the recording and have it shared with people who are joining in the future. So thanks so much for this great training. Just some upcoming events that are coming. Just a reminder for new members. We are having our Tuesday night fast start training every single week at 9 p.m. So make sure to log in at 9:15 p.m. this Tuesday night with our amazing diplomats and ambassadors. We have tours happening throughout the week in different cities and countries in Montreal, Caribbean, St. Lucia, St. Martin, Poland, Orlando, Miami, New York, Calgary, Vancouver, Kitchener, Winnipeg, and the list goes on and on. Everywhere around the world, there are regional tours happening, as well as in downtown Toronto. So we also have online tours happening and trainings happening in different languages, from French to Cantonese to Tagalog, Russian, Polish, and different languages that are happening on the webinars, training, and tours. Make sure to go to your back office on the calendar and find your region and your city and whatever language you're speaking, and find out the information about that. So, but other than that, we have our Christmas party happening this Wednesday, the 19th, which is the last Wednesday of the year. I believe the last Wednesday of the year, if I'm not mistaken. So we have our Christmas party in JBT head office. For those of you who are living in GTA, or even if you're outside of the GTA, you can be here on Wednesday night. We'd love to have you come and join us for the party. And we're getting closer and closer to the momentous event of the year for GWT, which is the annual international convention. So especially if this is your first year in GWT, this convention will be a life-changing event for you, as it was for many of us in the first year that we just got started with the company. So make sure to go ahead and get your convention ticket. This is the last month. This month, by end of this month, the convention ticket will be increased for another $100. So make sure to get your early bird convention ticket for low price. So other than that, I don't think if there is any other announcement. Rene, do you know, or Reza, if any other announcement you want to make?
No, I mean,
Well,
anyone else have any questions, come to the Christmas party this coming Wednesday and we'll have a blast together. So thanks so much.
absolutely. And also, one thing I want to stress on is make sure every one of you guys out there stress to new members how important it is to get their tickets for the convention. It's a life-changing event. It's a do not miss event. You want to make sure everyone takes it, registers for that. And also Tuesday nights are very, very, very important for new and existing members. The Launchpad Tuesday nights are very, very important. Next 30 days, I want to make sure all you guys, I see welcome emails coming in on an hourly basis. Make sure your people are tuned into Tuesday night calls. It's very important for the success, for the growth, and the takeoff. Other than that, great call, guys. It was a pleasure being with you guys, and everybody have a good night.
Absolutely, GWT family. I know your time and your attention is all yours, and you gave it so generously tonight. Thank you so much, and have an amazing Sunday night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.